Hello, my name is Elizabeth Aguilar, and today I wanted to talk about why the grind is for your own good. As an athlete who's also a Christian, we get a lot of people like coaches, teammates, parents telling us the grind is for your own good. You have to grind, you have to work in order to achieve your dream, to get to your dream. Because as a softball player, my dream is to make it as far as I can. A few of you guys know, or many know, or don't know, there is a professional softball league, and ever since I started softball, I've wanted to play at that level. But obviously I have to get through college first. We obviously as athletes have to grind to get to our goal, because they just don't give it to you like that. You have to earn it, which I think is pretty valid. I wanted to talk about how that looks like from a Christian's perspective. Like from my perspective, obviously everyone's perspective is different. So this is actually a great thing for me to talk about, because it's a reminder, because yesterday I was kind of in like just saying like I just want to play for fun, and like yeah, college is fun and I really want to play at that high level. That's like the fun I'm talking about. But obviously my recruiting process has been really pretty slow. This recruiting process, I'm kind of working on it myself, and emailing coaches all the time, posting videos all the time. I'm always like reaching out to my like private coaches, like, oh, I want to have a lesson, this and this, and I'm always working, whether it's social media or obviously whether it's my sport, physically and mentally as well. But not just mentally, physically, but also spiritually, which is, I think, many Christians might forget about, or Christian athletes might forget about putting God first, even through everything. One thing I had to like learn, since I started softball, like around like 4 years ago, is that I obviously can't be like, oh, this sport's my entire life, or the sport defines me, because I feel like sometimes I let it define me, and I should. But I do believe that God put this sport in my life for a reason. There's a purpose behind me playing the sport. There's a purpose behind me being so passionate. There's a purpose behind this dream. He gave me this gift, and obviously I'm looking to achieve that purpose, but also understand those trials as well, because I've gone through trials with this sport, but they've made me the person that I am now. So back to the topic. I wrote it on my journal, on my Bible journal, in November, and it's kind of funny because it wasn't at my church, it was at my cousin's church that we had gone to like go visit. And I remember during this time I was actually pretty down on myself for, again, recruiting process. I feel like I'm a little late, like I gotta rush it, especially since upcoming school year is my senior year. During this time, I was obviously a junior. It had been a few months since people in my class already gotten committed. Like seeing that and feeling like I'm not committed and everybody else is, made me pretty sad and upset, but also it made me grind even more, even harder. Maybe like the coaches haven't seen me, because I haven't gotten that much exposure until last year, and I'm still trying to get more exposure, but it's pretty hard when we go through these trials, So I remember the topic for like this series was called Blessed, and I feel like I be forgetting how blessed I am, even with little things, like with having the TV, with having a keyboard, a violin, a bed. I'm living under a roof. I'm already blessed, because not everybody has that. I be trying to remember, I gotta be thankful and blessed, because I'm always blessed. God will always bless me, and sometimes I don't even see with the things he blesses me with. I see it until later, or maybe I complain and then he's like, whoa, he like reminds me, hey, I blessed you with something, but you didn't acknowledge it, or like you didn't pay attention to it, The pastor talked about chapter 3, verse 23 through 24. Okay, so Colossians chapter 3, verse 23 to 24 says, "Whatever you do, work at it with all your heart, as working for the Lord, not for human masters, since you know that you will receive an inheritance from the Lord as a reward. It is the Lord Christ you are serving." Let me draw back to verse 23 when it talks about whatever you work with, do it with all your heart. And basically it's a reminder that you're working for the Lord and not for humans. And as an athlete, I'm guilty, because sometimes I feel like I'm working for not even myself, you know, more for like coaches to make a coach proud, or like teammates to make my teammates proud. And sometimes we forget we can't be working for, not that we can't be working for them, because we have to, but like that also can affect us in how we perform. Like that has affected me and how I perform. Like I feel like I've put myself under pressure when I shouldn't have, you know. And I think this verse reminds me a lot that, especially when I go up to hit, I always draw a cross, and it's always a reminder that every game is for the Lord and not for anyone else. It's always for the Lord. Kind of him and I trying to find out, or more I'm trying to find out, because he knows the purpose behind this sport, why this sport, especially since I've played a billion other sports. But that's a great reminder as athletes that this work is for the Lord, and the Lord sees, even if humans don't see this. And it's kind of crazy that this is coming out of my mouth, because I'm just reminding myself, saying that even if my recruiting process is going slow, God is seeing my work. That's what matters most. So after the pastor said that, he said, "The grant is for your good." When he started talking about this, it obviously clicked to me as an athlete. The pastor talked about Proverbs 10:22. Proverbs 10 says, "The blessing of the Lord brings wealth without painful toil for it." We're getting blessed, you know? And this reminds me of something that my dad says, that like a few weeks ago I was stressing over, again, the recruiting process. Thoughts in my head going, am I gonna play college softball? Like, I need to play college softball in order to play at a high level, you know? Something he did remind me is that whatever God wants for me will bring me peace and not anxiety or, you know, stuff like that. He's also not saying that because, softball's not from God. Okay, I know it's from God. I've talked to God about it a lot of times, and I always run back to the sport, always, even if I've quit a few times. But he was just talking about that because there's a school I'd really want to go to, and he said it shouldn't bring you anxiety if it's like, you know, anything that is from God should bring you peace and not stress or like anxiety or like not God things, you know? So I think that verse reminded me of what my dad had mentioned, and everybody interprets it a different way. So a point he did say was, one of the most powerful ways God blesses us is through hard work. We always want something. I want to go to this specific university to play softball, but I can't just ask for it and not work for it, you know, because then why are you getting rewarded for something you didn't work for? So that, I really like this point, because I think it's true. I think people should earn stuff if they put the work, you know, not just get it as a surprise or like as a gift, you know. And that is so true, because even if we don't see it, God always blesses us through our hard work. I remember last year I was working over the summer, and we weren't getting that many colleges to look at us. So if you guys hear the background, sorry about that. That's my mom putting worship music. Last year I was in a time, like I said, like no coaches were like looking at us, or like they were looking at us but then they would leave, and it was frustrating because, you know, I was about to be an upcoming junior, and it's the time that it's my time, you know, like and it, like I learned throughout times, like my best friend has helped me, but sometimes I didn't really have the coaches at the time to ask, you know. One time my dad had received an email, and he just checked, just because to check, right? And it was tryouts from like the organization I was playing for trials to see if you could make the national team, right? And there were 2 trial dates, and I remember my dad had seen it a few days before the last one. I remember he told me like, oh, I wasn't gonna check. I was actually just gonna delete that email, you know? But that's when I saw, I was like, no, I have to make it. I wanna play at a higher level. I wanna play hard softball, because something that has helped me grow as an athlete is playing with really good people that are better than me, because then that means I put the work even more, because I want to play. I don't want to just watch, right? Watching is fun, but I want to play. I want to be a part of that, you know? So I remember during that time, we were going through some other trials, so my parents couldn't take me to practice a lot. They were focusing on that one trial, right? In that apartment complex, I used to live in the 3rd floor, so I couldn't do much, and the gym was really small, and it didn't have that many things. So I was very, very limited, and I really wanted to be a part of the national team. But I wasn't just gonna sit there and be like, oh, I can't work, my parents can't take me because, you know, because of this certain trial going on. Oh, I'm just gonna YOLO it. No. I remember I got bands. My mom bought me bands, and I started doing like bicep curls. Like, I just found stuff on YouTube. At least I would be a little stronger for the trial. And I would work on reps. Sometimes throw with my brother, because sometimes he doesn't want to throw with me, so that was hard. And then for the bat, I used to grab my pillow, like, and I used to pretend that I was like swinging, and so like I would focus on keeping my weight back. So that's the work I put in, and that work showed to the coaches in the trial, and I had made the national team. So this point is really, like, it hits me. I have it even written up that I like got into the national team, like a reminder that my hard work, God saw. He blessed me with the national team I was in. I got to travel to new states. I got to meet new coaches, meet new teammates, which are amazing people. So he blessed me, but like, I was blessed by the work I put in. And I think we forget that we also gotta put in the work, not just God. Another point here is mindset. And oh my gosh, yes, I've been having a rough time, obviously, like I said, with recruiting. Mindset. It's always like the devil trying to come and attack me and be like, oh, you can't make it. Actually, you just can't. Like, no, come on. Another verse he talked about is Proverbs 10:4. And it says, lazy hands make for poverty, but diligent hands bring wealth. We can't be lazy. We can't. We gotta work. We got to work. Another point is to grind it for your good. This grind is for your good. It's for your good. Like, I don't know how else I could explain it, you know? He also talked about some people get jealous of what you got, but not typically the grind that made you get it. This hit, because people do get jealous because of what you got, but they don't realize what you went through to get that reward, you know? And I think this is so true, because people might think, oh, you made the national team because, I don't know, you made it, but they didn't see the behind the scenes, you know, of the work, of all the crying, of all the begging, asking God for guidance. That is definitely a reminder for me right now and for everyone else. The people get jealous of what you got, but not typically the grind that made you get it. Everyone should have a grind. So the pastor said 2 verses on this one. Proverbs 14:23 and 2 Thessalonians 3:10. Proverbs 14:23 says, all hard work brings a profit, but mere talks leads only to poverty. So again, this ties back to like the jealous people talking, and like obviously the hard work brings you something, a reward. The other verse is 2 Thessalonians 3:10, which says, for even when we were with you, we gave you this rule: the one who is unwilling to work shall not eat. Again, we gotta put in the work, because the people that don't put in the work, they don't get nothing. Or maybe they do get something, but not what they should be getting, you know, something bigger that God has for them. Some points that are said with this: if you do nothing, you get nothing. This kind of reminds me of when, like, my mom is like, if you don't clean the house, you're not going outside, or like you're not hanging out with your friends. So again, you gotta do something to get something, because if you don't do anything, you don't get anything. This point my dad definitely loved, but it says the grind is for your good because it teaches you to appreciate what you have. That God blesses us with so many things, and I just don't appreciate sometimes, as I should be appreciating everything. It shouldn't be certain things, it should be everything, because everything is a blessing. Again, I should appreciate the fact that today I'll go practice softball. This grind is for my good, and it will teach me to appreciate. Another point is anything that comes too easy is hard to appreciate. That is crazy. And I think that's true, because sometimes we get things that were like maybe easy to get and we just don't appreciate, but it might be hard for somebody else, or it might be hard in general, but we did it, you know? And we, like I said, we gotta appreciate everything. And my dad is very big on this. And then this point is very, very, very. It says growth happens in the grind, not after the grind, not before the grind. It happens during the grind. So that growth is happening when you're grinding. And sometimes I forget that I'm not making progress after literally 3 weeks of straight practicing. I haven't stopped practicing since summer started, you know? But I gotta remember there might be certain detail that there's progress happening, but obviously I don't see it. Like, it's like we do that on purpose, probably because we want a bigger result, but like tiny results, also big ones. So we gotta remember that. Verse that he said was, I'm just gonna put it up there. I can't say these, but 3:13 says that each of them may eat and drink and find satisfaction in all their toil. This is the gift of God. We gotta appreciate, and that growth is a gift from God. He will always reward us if we put in the hard work, always, even if it takes a long time, but he will make sure to reward us with our hard work. So we gotta remember that. And the last point the pastor had said, work and give your best effort, because maybe you're working but you're not giving your best effort. Maybe that's why it's taking longer to get what you want. That kind of hits me. Maybe God is talking to me off through that. Maybe I'm not putting my best effort, and so the reward is gonna take a longer time, because I gotta give my 110%. And I feel like as athletes, we've heard that you're in the field or on the court, you gotta give more than 100%. So it's like this with your grind, you have to give more than 100% to get the results. And that's kind of what I needed to talk about. But I feel like as an athlete, I should share that with other athletes as best as I can, because the grind is for our own good, and God will always reward us, even if it feels like it's going really slow, because that's how I feel like right now. But it's all his time, and we gotta be patient. God bless you all, and I hope all your hard work will show eventually, or is showing to God, but it will show to others as well, and you will get that big reward and gift God is waiting to give for you.